saw Parker with his weightlifting. My goodness.
He just benched 260 last weekend. 19. He's getting big.
Is he doing any? Is he playing any sports at Tech or anything like that, or is he?
No, it's just lifting. He just
Powerlifting.
loves in fact, he's doing his first competition in June.
Oh, sweet.
So
Sweet.
yeah.
Kate's doing good.
Yeah.
She's playing
Yeah.
her violin.
Yeah.
She decide where she's going to go to school yet or not?
Going to Tech.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So the violin instructor at Vanderbilt, Dr. Chang, who was there for a long time, is now in Cookville. So he's amazing.
Nice. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Discovering 615. I am your host, Rob Thacker, and I'm here with my good friend and buddy, David Osk. He is a singer, a small business owner, and entrepreneur. David, thanks for coming to the podcast.
It's awesome. Glad to be here.
So glad to have you. Glad on this wintry day we can be in a warm area to do this. We're getting there.
Yeah.
How much snow do you think we'll get tonight?
I wonder. I think they said 4 or 5 inches.
Yeah, 4 to 5 inches here, but you've seen more. Having been from Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
And colder up there.
It is. I'll be there this week.
There you go. So let's go ahead and jump in. What? Tell us a little bit about your background. What brought you to Nashville? Family background, things like that. What got you down here?
So I moved here in '94. Ended up going to Belmont, and growing up, my whole family was just musical. So mom was a music teacher. Older siblings were, all things music, and so it was just kind of a natural progression to kind of follow in their footsteps. But then I realized, kind of later in high school, that I actually had a pretty good knack for it.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I think more at the time it was kind of a social scene, and so anyway, it was kind of a neat moment. I remember my sister and her husband had just finished college at Bemidji State in Minnesota, and I had just finished high school, and I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do. And, they were kind of like, okay, what do we do now? Victor had a sports fitness management degree, I think it was called, and Kirsten was L-Ed. And jokingly, I looked at Kirsten and Victor one day and I said, why don't we move to Nashville? And it was funny though. We were, honestly, it was like we all kind of like, ding, 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 ding. And 4 months later, we were living here. And
wow.
Never looked back. Like it felt like it was home instantly. And yeah, so anyway, kind of launched from there. So
that's sweet.
31 years.
Wow. So you've seen Nashville grow then.
We were here, so 94, if I'm right, was the year the Batman building was finished.
Oh, wow.
And of course, now there's 3 times as many buildings downtown.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
And, the suburbs are just totally gangbusters.
Yeah, and I think there's something in the real estate world, I think I saw the Paramount, which is supposed to go up, that's supposed to dwarf the Batman building.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's crazy.
That's wild.
Nashville's growing in leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So you came down here. Talk a little bit about like music and getting into the music industry too. I mean,
it's funny. I think most people who end up moving here, or especially before you move here, you think of Nashville, kind of the place where dreams are made of, like it's LA or New York or Nashville, right? And so I think we probably had a lot of conceptions as far as, how it's done, that kind of thing.
Right.
What's interesting though is like any business, I mean, even in yours, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is who you know.
Yeah.
And, you want to surround yourself with people who are, ethical and good folks, right? But they're really great at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And we were really fortunate to find some people that, could, help us, start connecting some dots and, start making some music that was, that was pretty high level right away. And, not that everything was all roses, that kind of thing, but I, after 30 years, I've done 3 records and just released a single this week.
Okay.
Called Hello March. And I'm working on, by the way, you're going to love this. I'm actually going to release on my birthday, April the 11th, I'm releasing, the Journey hit Open Arms.
Oh, yes.
So I'm recording that in Italian.
Nice.
And I recorded it in English, Italian, and then April the 11th, we're releasing it as a mixed version. So the English Italiano. And really excited about that. I was actually doing some promo work today for that. And yeah, so
that's
fun.
Great.
Yeah.
That's That's sweet.
Yeah.
So in terms of the music world, who are some of the people you've had opportunities to work with? Who are some of the names that
You
you,
know,
the
it's so,
memorable ones as well? So,
yeah. You know, I'm really, really grateful. So early on, I was asked, I'm talking like within just a couple of years of moving to Nashville, I was working at Dillard's in Green Hills, and one of the guys, you know, as he's walking out the door, said, "Oh, hey, David, what are you doing Saturday night?" And I'm like, what do you got going on? And he said, "Well, a few of us are singing backup at the Grand Ole Opry."
oh wow,
So, like within just a few months of being here, I find myself, standing on the stage of the Opry and singing, and it was just a really, really great opportunity. And since then, I've been, sung on the Ryman stage probably 10 times, and
mm,
in various groups, whether that's a choir or just a little ensemble and so on. But I've sung backup for everybody from Alison Krauss to Bill Gaither to you know Amy Grant to Michael W. Smith to just a whole lot, and it's
right.
been just really, really cool.
That's great. So, in terms of your style, in terms of your music, your style, what would people who listen to you compare you to?
Yeah.
Um,
So I don't think I was the one to coin the term, but I like the term popra. So it's a
okay,
mixture of pop and kind of classical, right?
right, yeah,
So I would say that I'm a little bit akin to Josh Groban
mm-hmm,
or Andrea Bocelli,
okay,
and and I mean it sounds kind of silly to compare yourself to the greats, but I don't know anybody else to compare myself to, and I really like singing, and it kind of captures the essence there.
Well, I've heard you sing, so I love listening to you sing.
Thank you.
I think one of my favorites that you've done is the Christmas song "All Is
Oh
Well."
yeah,
That's one of
yeah,
my favorites you've done. I know you've
yeah.
tried out one time for the Star Spangled Banner for the
Oh, for the
Creds. I
theaters,
remember
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, in
um,
fact, I've tried out for like America's Got Talent and The Voice, and what's interesting is I always make it past like the first hurdle, and they start asking questions, like what's the hardest thing you've ever been through, and what's the worst thing you've ever done, or like they want a story,
oh yeah,
and honestly, I feel like not that I don't want to make it an excuse, but I just feel like my life is a little boring, and they want some sensationalism for
yeah.
that kind of thing. In fact, I've got a friend of mine who's on The Voice right now. So
Oh, that's
anyway,
wild.
but yeah, it's
Well, boring sometimes is good. I
yeah,
mean, it's doing those boring things. I know that my coach and I have talked about doing the boring equals the success,
it
and so
is. Yeah,
it's hard to want to stick with the boring at times. But
totally. Yeah,
so you've got music going on,
yeah,
and that's yeah. I'm excited for your single coming out in March, and then again in
that's right.
April. That's gonna
Yeah,
be amazing.
yeah.
So make sure folks you check it out. Where can they check that out?
So I'm on pretty much every platform.
Okay.
So if you just look for David Osk, so my last name, of course, is spelled like ask. So if you're listening right now, it's Ask,
Yeah.
pronounced Osk. But anyway, but it's on iTunes and Spotify and all the streaming platforms.
Gotcha. What do you think is somebody that's aspiring to the music industry aspect of things? What do you think is some of the challenges they face? What advice would you give to them?
You know, I think that a couple of things kind of pop up immediately, and I would say that you need to be confident in your craft.
Mm,
So they always say the cream rises to the top, or this idea of just be so good that people can't avoid you.
right.
And that sounds a little arrogant or maybe a little intimidating, but I truly believe there's a space for everybody, in the
Yeah.
creative arts, as it were. But I think that what gives people, confidence is really competence.
Mm,
And, so do something and do it really well. Work really, really hard at it. My daughter Kate, of course, is a senior in high school, and
hmm.
she's been first chair in mid-state, first chair all-state, first chair honors orchestra. She's first chair at Vanderbilt, children's orchestra, and she just won the concerto competition, so she gets to
Wow.
play a 20-minute Tchaikovsky solo at the Schermerhorn soon. But here's the funny thing, right? She's what is she, 5 feet tall
Hmm.
and 18, but she has the work ethic, of a Marine.
Wow.
She works, 3, 4, 5 hours a day to be number one in Music City, USA. She's outstanding. And, you know, she is at the point at 18 years old turning work down. Like she gets asked to do things all the time. And I'll be honest, I wish I had her work ethic at that age.
Yeah.
I was more concerned with, you know, I don't know, chasing girls and playing golf, you know, screwing around. But she's a workhorse. So
right.
I think
yeah.
It's really confidence is competence.
Yeah. That's a great point. I mean, that's a great point, especially for her age group to have that mentality, because you hear so many people complaining, well, this age group doesn't have that mentality or whatever. And it's
not some, but yeah.
Some. Yeah. It depends. I think it's parenting. I think that's an important key.
Yeah.
So I think you and Lisa have done a great job with your two.
Thanks.
So from what I see, I mean, golly.
Well, you mentioned, you know, Parker before we started recording. You know, he's 19, you know, 235 pounds and just benched, you know, 260 last weekend. Yeah. He squatted 405, like the kid. But you don't do that without working hard. I mean, you know, you're a weightlifter. Yeah. And it's like, just put in the reps, no pun intended, but that goes for any area of life, whether it's, you know, real estate, you're making the calls, you're whatever it is, you're selling something, it's put the reps in. And it's amazing what you can do with just a little bit of consistency. Yeah. So
that's so crucial. Yeah. That is so crucial. Well, talk to me too, because not only do you have music, but you're also a small business owner, entrepreneur. Talk to me about your Statguard Plus, and what was the other item that you were telling me about earlier?
Lockbox Pro.
Okay.
So I need to give credit to my brother-in-law. So Eric Poulin, he called me about 10 years ago one day. I was working at Verizon in their real estate group. And he called me and he goes, "Hey, David, where do I get a thermostat guard with, you know, a combo lock, you know, the combination lock?" And of course, at Verizon, I was doing facilities management for, you know, 75 stores. And we use, you know, stat guards everywhere because everybody keeps jacking around with the thermostat, right? We all get that in our homes, especially in, you know, you think of offices or restaurants or retail stores. Yeah. Well, nobody could keep up with that tiny key. So Eric and I went into business together. Initially, I ended up buying him out. You know, we invented the Statguard Plus, which is, you know, trademarked and everything, and ended up getting into Home Depot. So we're in 1,300 Home Depot stores, and we've been there for about 7 years. And then about 2 years ago, we got into, about 1,700 Lowe's stores.
Oh, wow.
In fact, no, we're in more Home Depot. We're in all the Home Depot stores now, a total of about 3,700 stores. With the Statguard Plus. And then the Lockbox Pro is a new unit that I literally licensed last week to a master distributor called Supco. Okay. And that is a thermostat guard that has a combination lock, but it also has a key.
Oh, wow.
And the reason that matters is of course, on a basic level, right? At least you have 2 access points. So if you lose the key, you've got the combo. Right. If you forget the combo, at least you have the key. But what was kind of interesting, the feedback that we got from contractors and so on is, you know, if an HVAC tech goes into a store or restaurant, you know, typically they're like doing quarterly preventative maintenance type stuff. They might not know what the code is, right? So they kind of like having a key. Right. So what's cool is our tagline for that product is share the code, not the key. And so the end user, you know, the store manager, whatever, they really like this idea of just, you know, hey, I can take the keys, at least I have a backup. I throw it in the key box or the safe, but I can just set the code to whatever I want and just share the code. Right. So they don't have to keep up with some tiny key. And that's been a major issue with thermostat guards for, you know, the last 75 years. Yeah. So anyway, we're really excited about, you know, just the potential of that product getting out into the pro channel, as it were. And, you know, it's just fun to be creative and, you know, create anything, whether it's music or a stat guard. So. That's true.
So let's talk about a little bit of the community, because how has the community, like in both areas, obviously you've touched on this a little bit more in terms of the community, in terms of embraced you with your music, the stat guard, but then also what do you think in terms of giving back into the community? How important is that to you?
You know, it's so funny. I feel like it doesn't matter whether it's a friendship, marriage, parenting, in any situation, you get out of it what you put into it. And so I really feel like, living in Hendersonville, we lived, our first house was down in Creve Hall on the south side of Nashville.
Right. Yeah.
And then Lisa grew up here in Hendersonville. So we moved up in 2001 maybe, or two. Anyway, Parker was born in 5, so it might have been 2003 or 4. Anyway, but we bought a little house right behind Hendersonville Hospital on Hillwood Drive, and been here ever since. And I love Hendersonville.
Yeah.
I mean, we're off of Tyree Springs Road,
Right.
so we're on we have a Hendersonville address, but we're close to White House. We're kind of close to Goodlettsville, because
Right.
if you take Flat Ridge Road over there,
Yeah.
we're right there. And so I feel like, Lisa works in White House. Kate took all of her lessons from, like Peggy Duncan and Corinne Hamlin down in, Goodlettsville. So we spent a lot of time there. But then we do all of our shopping and stuff in Hendersonville and so on. But it's, I think like anything, the more you put in, the more you get out.
Absolutely. I think that's so crucial. To those things. So how did you and Lisa meet? Let me add, if we can go down that rabbit hole for fun, because I was thinking about that. I was like, as you were talking about, Lisa was here and then you're from Minnesota. So how did that connection come about?
I always love these kind of stories too. But so it was funny. So when I moved here, my brother had just finished college, and he was a computer programmer, but he was working with my dad at my dad's welding shop. And he just realized after, 6 months, he's like, I just don't want to do this, And so we were like, well, why don't you move here? I think you'll really like, not like Nashville. So Andy moved down and started working for a software company, Stryker Systems, in White House. And Lisa had just finished high school, and she was their receptionist.
Oh, wow.
And so it was kind of a funny thing. A year earlier, I was working at Vanderbilt, and I invited a girl that I worked with, Jenny, to a party at my brother's house. She was just a great friend at work. We saw eye to eye on a lot of things. And I said, hey, my brother's having a party. You might, find a group of people that you like here. And Andy and Jenny hit it off, ended up getting married. But it wasn't like I was like going out of my way to introduce them. But the same thing happened with Andy and my wife, Lisa. So Lisa's working with Andy at Stryker. Andy invites Lisa to a party, and I just happened to be there, right? And we really hit it off. Actually, let me back up. This is kind of funny. You'll get a kick out of this. So that was Memorial Day.
Okay.
Well, I was 24, and when I met Lisa, she was 19.
Oh, okay.
And I'll be honest with you, I was like, she's too young for me. I'm not going to, date a teenager. But here's the weird thing, right? So that's Memorial Day. We saw each other again at a Labor Day party.
Okay.
In September. And I couldn't stop thinking about her. And I was fighting it though for, about a month. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't, have the hots for a 19-year-old. And anyway, it was one of those things that I just, you can't deny the heart, right? So
right.
I just turned on the old Osk charm, and the rest is history. It's funny though, we're celebrating 26 years in April.
Awesome. That's great, man. That's awesome.
Pretty cool.
You say that to people. It's so funny because it's like Elizabeth and I we've been together 31. So you say 26, 31, people can go, well, congratulations. I'm like, okay, is this?
I just married up. She's just
exactly. We both
she
did.
puts up with a lot of nonsense.
Oh yeah.
I'm just so eternally thankful that she's so.
I hear you.
I mean, you can tell being the musician, being the entrepreneur. I feel like my head is in the clouds most of the time, and she is just super steady, very practical, and I think we balance each other out pretty well. That's
one great thing about having a God-sent helpmate.
Yeah.
And by God's grace,
question.
I mean, good night. I mean, Elizabeth's the same way. It's like this past weekend, I was in one of those, and she goes, I don't think I want to talk to you. I'm like, give me my space. Just give me my space for a minute, and then we'll have a conversation. So, yeah. So Anyway, so let's talk about. Okay, so Kate's got her violin. And she's going to Tennessee Tech.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you've got Parker at Tennessee Tech. What's he looking at? Talk a little bit about what he's thinking about doing. I mean,
yeah, so he's
maybe powerlifting competition.
Well, right. So Parker is a business major, probably going to finish in marketing.
Nice.
And part of that is it was a weird thing. I'll be honest. I'm not one of those people that feels like everybody should go to college.
I'm one of those
at
too.
the same time, we weren't sure, and he wasn't sure what he wanted to do. Like if he would have had a real, like a focus, like I want to start this business or go into this trade or whatever it was, we would have been like, great, let's do it.
Yeah.
But he didn't have that. So we were like, you know what? Let's just keep putting tools in your belt. One thing we're really, I guess fairly certain with Parker, he's a lot like me with regards to people. He loves people. And I just feel like he needs to do something in sales. I'm not sure he's necessarily the marketing mind, right? Like being a quarterback, but I really believe that, he just needs to be out with people. He loves people. And in fact, I remember when he was younger, we would be at Best Buy or the Apple store, something like that. He'd be selling stuff to other customers. They'd be looking around and he'd be like, do you have some questions about that? And he'd be answering questions.
Oh my God.
And he'd be like, no, you don't need that. That's way too much money. It's just overkill. You need to get this one. And I'm like, and this is when he was 12.
Oh my word.
It was kind of funny how social he was and so on. And then Kate, of course, is going to be going to Tech next year. What's neat, of course, I'm thrilled because older brother's there, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Keep an eye on little sister, but her best friend Gwen is going there, and she wants to do music composition.
Okay.
And she's already doing it. It's unbelievable, the songs that she writes and plays. And she's performed with me on some really big stages. There's a couple of them.
Oh yeah.
I can't mention it by name, on a podcast, but they made me sign a non-disclosure agreement, but about the famous golf course. But she's been with me there 4 times. And it's like, so for her to, at 18, have performed in front of billionaires, and now coming up, she'll be doing her Tchaikovsky piece at the Schermerhorn, but she's already performed with the symphony twice. So I just think to her ability, let alone that we live in a time in history in a city where there's even opportunity like this, is extraordinary.
Well, and that's the amazing thing with Nashville. Everybody thinks Music City, which it is,
sure,
but there's so much more taking place.
It's unbelievable.
When I first moved here, I thought ice hockey, NHL, Nashville, really? Yeah. And then I'm like, oh yeah, go to a Preds game, you'll be like, yeah, I want to go back. It's an amazing. An amazing show.
Now we've got soccer. Look at that new stadium down there, and of course the Nashville Sounds, that new stadium. Yeah. Now the Titans will have a new stadium here in about a year.
I think so. Yeah.
It's extraordinary to see, what has transpired, since I moved here. I can't even imagine what the next 20 years will look like.
Oh, I know. It's and then they say Nashville has become the medical center of the South as well. Yeah. Vanderbilt, St. Thomas. It's amazing.
HCA. It's really remarkable. And here's a funny thing too. So my brother lives in Nolensville, but he works in Smyrna. The manufacturing that happens even in Middle Tennessee it's really outrageous. From Dixon to Cookeville, and up and down. Right. It's really remarkable, the stuff that's being produced here on a tangible level and shipped all over the world. Think of Jack Daniels.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
they're shipping, to almost to every single country in the world. It's wild to see what comes out of Tennessee.
Yeah, and then you've got, you look at Tennessee, Nashville on a map. It's almost not quite, but almost the center of America, because you can go take the highways anywhere.
Yeah, 3 interstates that come through here.
Yeah. Now it's crazy. Trying to get home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, rush hours.
We're not quite like that other city in the South, Atlanta.
What a nightmare.
But anyway.
Yeah, it's a great place to live.
Well, it's fun. There's always something. There's always something happening. And again, like you said, Hendersonville, the city by the lake, it's a wonderful place to be. I mean,
it is. When you think about what, whether it's New Shackle or Indian Lake, I mean, now that we've got a Sam's and a Costco, and now, even the Rivergate area is becoming a bit more, developed, kind of redeveloped, that kind of stuff. And you mentioned Station Camp earlier, that kind of thing. I mean, it's fascinating, not only just the homes, but businesses that are here and hotels and
even the restaurant businesses now.
Yeah.
I mean, my friend Laura Braga, who's up in the Guilty Grind, and what used to be Phillies is now La Veneta, and then you got Tutti da Gio, and there's another one that Italian restaurant I need to check out. I understand it's down by where the Blossom used to be, so it's supposed to be phenomenal.
Right.
I mean,
there's
so it's
so
like
many great
so many
places.
things happening for Hendersonville, which is great.
Yeah, that's great.
So exciting. So, David, do you have any parting words of wisdom or anything for those that want to either get in the music business or be an entrepreneur? I think you shared some earlier, but any other thoughts?
I'll get a little personal. So one of the things that I do, I work with a guy named Dr. Andy Garrett, who's a clinical psychologist. And in the last several months, we've done a couple of events together. One of them was actually in Jamaica recently. We taught like a 1.5-day course on what he calls true north resiliency. So this idea of bouncing back quickly, and which I think is something that's sorely lacking in our society, right? You get knocked down and people stay down for a long time.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah,
it is. And so one of the things that I heard a quote, it's probably been a couple of years ago, by Benjamin Disraeli, former PM of England. And I often use this, but the quote reads, "The greatest good you can do for another is not to share with him your riches, but to reveal to him his own." And I just love that sentiment. Whether you're, a parent, a spouse, a friend, what does it look like to look at someone and to see the riches that God put in them and to say something about it, right?
Yeah.
To validate it, to call it out. So when someone is acting in a certain capacity or says something or does something, you say something like, hey, yesterday when I saw you doing X, or you said this, I want you to know that was really good. Like I could tell it came from a place inside of you that was meaningful. It landed well. I wonder if you should do more of that. So I think that, just seeing, riches in other people and saying something, I think is a great way to live life.
That's a great point.
Thanks.
Really, I mean, especially since all of us are created in the image of God, and that's so crucial. I mean, we've lost that aspect of things too.
Yeah.
So, well, David, thanks for coming on Discovering 615, brother. Where can people find you? Just again, shout out. Where can people find you for music? And then you mentioned your small business, the entrepreneur, Statguard.
So I'll tell you my 3 websites. So if you go to davidoskmusic.com, my cell phone is on there. And then if you go to statguardplus.com, that's our unit that's in Home Depot and Lowe's. And the latest unit we just launched, a thermostat guard, is called lockboxpro.com.
Okay. All right, folks. Well, there you have it. If you go and listen to David's music, I would encourage you to go listen to his music. And we're excited about what's coming out
thanks
for you. And David, thanks for coming. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Have a great day, and God bless. See you.